good. Webb Simpson joins us here at the Sony Open in Hawaii, making his 15th start at this tournament. Webb, first, before we get started talking about the golf, we just came back from the Hawaiian blessing and the celebration of life with Grayson Murray. I know he was a friend of yours. If you can talk a little bit about the ceremony this morning and then your recollections and what you remember about Grayson.
Yeah, well, I was made aware of the ceremony maybe a week ago, and I thought very fitting that it's here, you know, a year later after he won in dramatic fashion. And I think I can only imagine how hard it must be to lose a child, to even understand what they're going through. I hope I don't have to ever go through that. But I hope that they could see how celebrated he was this morning. I was really encouraged with how many guys came, players, caddies, PGA Tour staff, media. I think it was a great outpouring of love for Grayson and really a celebration of his life, a celebration of what he did a year ago here. And I'm sure there's been just countless dark days for his parents and his family, but I hope this morning, you know, his parents were able to feel the love that the tour as a family has for Grayson. And I'm really excited that they talked about the foundation that they're starting in his honor. And I think it'll definitely bring them some purpose to try to carry on his legacy, carry on his name. And I'm excited to see how us players in the PGA Tour can support the foundation. So I miss him a ton. I think, you know, when it happens, it's fresh on your mind, and you think about it for days and weeks, and you don't stop thinking about it. But as time goes on, you know, life goes on, and then, you know, you have these moments a year after he won where we get to remember just his win, his life, what he meant to so many people. And so I was thankful to be a part of it, and I'm hoping and trusting his parents felt honored as well.
Questions?
When you know, whether it was weeks or months or whatever, whenever you thought about Grayson, what was the one kind of memory that rose to the top for you?
It's hard for me to think of Grayson and not think of when I first met him. You know, he was, I want to say 8 or 9 years old, and our swing coach, Ted Kegel, told me, he's like, hey, this kid's really good. You know, he lives 30 minutes away or whatever. And I remember meeting him. He was just classic little 8-year-old, 9-year-old golfer, and very good at the game. And it was kind of one of these guys where you encounter good young juniors, but it's rare where a guy keeps getting better and better. So I kept watching him, staying in touch. And so I think as it relates to later in life, I think it was well said this morning, like the fist pump he showed on 18 in that moment kind of summed up. He was just a passionate guy, and whatever he was doing, he was very passionate about it. And I think, you know, when I do think of him now, like that memory of him on 18 green comes to mind very quickly. And then we had a really special dinner at Pebble Beach. I guess it would have been a month or so after he won, where we just talked about, kind of reflected on.
Just the two of you? Or just two groups?
There was a few of us. Just reflected on his life, kind of where he'd come from, the trials he'd gone through, and then, you know, winning out here can change your life so quickly. And I don't know how confident he was on winning when he got here, you know, Monday to Tuesday that week, but he won, and it really set up his year, got him in the Masters, and he was about to get married, and so all this great stuff was happening in his life. And so it's hard to remember those and not be like immediately reminded of the sadness of what happened in May, but I also don't want to forget that those were like real moments of joy and real moments where he experienced some great things in life.
Anything else? And now here we are, your 15th Sony Open. Just talk a little bit about this golf course and as you kick off the season.
Well, I'm pretty sure, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2009, I shot 66 first round. It was my first PGA Tour round with a card. And Todd Lewis, I'm pretty sure it was you. We got in a cart together, and y'all's old headquarters were back behind 13 green. And so I rode out there with you. Pretty sure it was you.
Yeah,
and so very fond memories here. I finished 9th in my first Sony Open, and quickly fell in love with the golf course, with the area, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it's cold this time of year, so it's always nice to start the year in a warm place. But it's hard to believe it's been 15 Sony Opens. It's wild that year after year I'll travel 11 hours for one golf tournament, but I think it just shows how much I love the course and how much I love this area.
And your goals for the season?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about those on the airplane. I'm in a unique season, I guess. Not this particular season, but in my life, just with 5 kids at home. Assistant to Keegan for the Ryder Cup, so I have a lot of time I want to devote to that, and I'm so excited about the Ryder Cup. And I still love the game of golf. I still love to compete. My schedule I've cut back pretty significantly to be home more and to give myself to other things that I'm passionate about. And so there's still a desire to play a high level of golf, but last year was kind of a trial run to see how I could do it, what not to do, what to do to stay sharp when I'm playing 12 or 14 events. So that's been a challenge, but I'm ready to go, and we'll see how my game is this week. It's been 6-7 weeks since RSM, and so I'm excited. What's nice about having not played a lot lately is a golf course that I've played so many times. So there's a level of comfort that I feel here that I can't really muster up unless I've actually been here as many years as I have.
How
do you approach this season with now only 100 cards out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure my eligibility runs one more year, if I remember correctly. But I was always very for these changes. I think there's always downside to these type of changes, but I think the upsides were more, and were going to be more beneficial for the tour and for the players moving forward. And so it's definitely more competitive, which I think is a good thing. It's even a good thing for me. I mean, there's less opportunities, less cards, and I know the young guys, they're as hungry as ever. I mean, I got a few friends who are young, who are new to the tour, and you hear them and the way they prep, the way they get ready for the season or tournaments, and I've got more going on in my life, but they still kind of draw me to a higher standard of what it takes to not only remain out here, but to play successfully for a while.
Hey, Todd.
You mentioned the season of your life. What is inspiring you right now?
What's inspiring me? Great question. I'm a believer that God has given me gifts and talents to use and glorify Him with. One of those is being a husband, one's being a father, one's being a golfer, one's being a friend, one's being good to my sponsors who've supported me. And so I'm really trying to take the idea of doing everything in an excellent way and having that be kind of the fuel for everything I'm doing. I love College Golf Fellowship. My wife and I have been a part of that ministry for about 12 years. We hosted a conference at our house the weekend before Christmas. We had about 50 college golfers come stay and hang out with us. And so I feel like I'm entering a season of being able to mentor some guys and help them develop as a pro, as a Christian, maybe as a young father, telling him what we did well, what we didn't do well on the road when Dowd and the kids were traveling. And so that kind of stuff is fun for me. And so this will be my first time being assistant for a Ryder Cup. I got to do it at Charlotte for the President's Cup with Davis. And so even working with Keegan and the guys on what that role looks like for me now, and trying to help lead a team, in an event like that is such an honor. And so I feel like there's different things that are yielding these opportunities for me that I'm excited about. And yes, it takes a little time away from my work and my craft. And so that's kind of the part that's the new season of trying to figure out how it all works, how I can do a good job in kind of the areas that I'm in right now. And I'm definitely not I'm being careful that I'm not taking on too much. I feel like that's a temptation. There's great opportunities everywhere, but between Ryder Cup, the board, I have one more year on the PGA Tour policy board, and everything else, I got to be careful it doesn't become too much.
But what does that do for your fire competitively? All these things that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe a couple of years ago when I cut back a little and I wasn't playing as much or wasn't playing as well, I think at first I was thinking, man, do I really love the game like I used to? And I think after a while, kind of consulting with a mentor of mine, I realized I do love the game. I love competing. Like when I actually think about how I feel when I'm at a PGA Tour event or Thursday through Sunday inside the ropes, like I love it as much as ever. And I have a desire to get in contention more than ever. But having these other things, whether it's family or ministry stuff or Ryder Cup, those things I have a lot of love for. I think sometimes they can feel like they're competing, in my mind and heart, but I think there's a way to do both. And there's a way to still try to compete at a high level. And, I've talked to Steve Stricker over the years. He did a wonderful job of playing less, but still playing at a high level. And I'm also growing a ton of respect for him because he did it for a number of years. And I realized how hard it actually is to play 10 or 12 times a year. And he remained, I think, top 10 or 15 in the world. And so I certainly hadn't played at the level I've wanted to play at. But, some guys will play and kind of survive for a number of years. I feel like I don't have enough patience. And so if I can't turn around my game sooner rather than later, I don't know how long I want to struggle,
You made the point, this is several years ago when you dropped off a bit, you felt like you belonged up here.
Mm-hmm.
You were determined to get back there. One of the players by 20 shots that year, something like that, and got back to where you thought you should be. Knowing what kind of work goes into it, have you reached an age where it's hard to put in the work? Do you know what it requires because you've been doing it for so long?
I think yes and no. I think the yes is the reality that I'm competing against guys who are married or maybe not married but no kids, and they're literally devoting their whole week and life to getting better. And I know I don't have that time and ability to do that. And so that's a reality. Also think I did it for a number of years where I felt like my best seasonal tour was 1920, and at that point we had all 5 kids, and I was able to make it work. And so there's a part of me that thinks like I can still make it work, and there's a part of me that I'm wrestling with like, is this a new normal? Is this, is the game that much harder? And so that's kind of the battle between my ears often is I know I have the ability. I know I have the talent. I mean, I think Gary or somebody said it on air last week, talking about Justin Thomas in his putting, and Justin's comments were that talent never leaves someone. And I love those. I love those thoughts because I know it's in there. I know I still can hit shots and make putts. I just haven't done it in a while for 4 days, and so I think the belief hasn't left me. It's just kind of like, okay, how much longer, before I can string together a good few rounds.
Sorry to add gray hair to you, but how old's your oldest?
13.
Not too bad.
Do you think when you say you're irritated, if you get too irritated, you're going to stop? Do you feel like you would go like Hunter Mahan and just go home and be dad, or would you cut back your schedule even more and still be out there?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I played at a very high level for 10 years, 11 years, and so that became my norm. And I reject the notion that this is my norm now. And so I think every time I consider what would life look like if I didn't play golf, very quickly I think I would miss the game too much. I don't love traveling, but I love once I'm here, like I love interacting with the guys. I love Thursday through Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday feels like prep, feels like work. Thursday through Sunday doesn't feel like work. Like even though that's technically my work, that feels like that's what I love. I love the pressure. I love the nerves. And like I haven't been in big pairings in a while. And big pairings was what I used to. Those butterflies, and you're playing against Rory McIlroys and Scotty Schefflers, and I missed that. The kind of the buzz of being a top player, making these team events. But I'm trying to take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. My wife and I always sit down in December and we kind of look back throughout the past year, and then we plan for the next year. And if I commit to a year on the PGA Tour, I try to be fully in like for that year, and so there'll be no. I won't be stepping away from the game this year, but every year we kind of reevaluate and see how everything is looking from professional life to personal life and all that.
Who are you working with these days to help you get back to better?
A combination of Paul Tesori still and Joe Mayo. Joe lives in Nashville now. He was in Vegas, but Joe's helping me with my golf swing and my short game. Paulie's still kind of eyes over everything, consultant. I talk to him all the time, and so he's still helping me. I think the first time I worked with Joe Quayle a couple years ago, Paulie was there. They got along great, and so that's been fun. Even having them, talk and be on the same page.
No, okay. There's a quick follow. What's the difference between Joe and Butch?
Difference between Joe and Butch. Well, one similarity is they both have great stories. Working with them is really fun. Like, it's not like do this, do this, do this. There's a story between every shot. Butch is more old school, more feel. Hey, why don't you make the club do this in the downswing? Joe is for sure more numbers driven, but he has an unbelievable way of translating that for me, because the first time he came to work with me in Charlotte, he didn't even bring a TrackMan, and I didn't have mine, and he didn't ask for mine, which he's a TrackMan maestro. So like I was shocked, but Joe adapted quick to how I need to receive information, and so both are great, just very different in the way they kind of deliver what they want to tell you.
All right. Well, Webb, we appreciate your time. Best of luck this week.
Thank you, John.